welcome back to Beyond the Veil Tarot and Astrology. My name is Candice Marie. Thanks for joining me. I'll be your astrologer today. Hopefully you guys are doing well. This is going to be in advance taking a look at the solar eclipse in Aries that's coming in hot on April 19th, 2023. Hopefully you guys are doing well. I'm excited to take a look at this, give you guys some pointers, some insight into this very, very pivotal turning point solar eclipse. We're in the throes of eclipse season, getting ready to start up for the very first time in 2023. As many of you guys know, eclipses come in pairs. We see them roughly every 6 months. And this is important because it's a north node eclipse. It's a part of growing into our collective destiny, our future. It also is at a pivotal degree, 29 degrees. It's got a lot of aspects, and this is a eclipse that is going to unfold over time. We're going to actually see this unfold on a variety of different dates moving into the future. I'm excited to talk to you guys about this. As you guys know, I work both with the Sabian symbols as well as tarot to better understand what's going on in the cosmos. If you like my work, make sure you give me a thumbs up, make sure you're subscribed, leave me a comment below, and consider donating to my channel or joining my memberships. I appreciate it. You guys make it possible for me to do what I'm doing. Wowzers. So I don't even know where to begin. For starters, just eclipse season in general, we start feeling it about a month in advance. So as you guys are watching this, the first week of April, we're already kind of in it. And this is not anything new, actually. This is the second new moon that we've had in Aries within Aries season. So we had one at the very beginning, if you guys remember, when we had the spring equinox, we had a new moon at 0 degrees of Aries, and now we have a new moon solar eclipse at 29 degrees. So we are completing all of the degrees within Aries. Double opportunity, double the fun, double the trouble. But yeah, still a lot of time to set intentions. Okay, so before I get any further, I'll give you guys all the info. So you have to take a look at what time zone you're in, where you're living. I know I've got people all over the world. I happen to live in the United States. And the eclipse is going to be hitting either on April 19th or April 20th. Now, I'm on Central Time, but if you're on Pacific Time, it's going to be 9:12 p.m. Pacific. And if you're on Eastern Time, it's going to be on 12:12 a.m. Eastern Time on the 20th. Okay, so the solar eclipse you're going to feel, okay, it's going to be active for several days, really from the time that the moon, I think, is coming into conjunction with Chiron on the 18th, all the way through about 2 days after this solar eclipse. Solar eclipses are like new moons on steroids, okay? So solar eclipses are when the sun and the moon come into contact with each other, representing the beginning of a new cycle, but something is being eclipsed out. Now, this particular eclipse is happening in the sign of Aries, and it's important because this is the first eclipse, not only of 2023, but the first eclipse in a series of eclipses that are actually going to be playing out for the better part of the next few years. And I'll touch on why that's going to be playing out over time in just a minute. But first, kind of talking about the archetypes of Aries, right? Cardinal fire, which is I initiate, right? I act, I am bold, I'm courageous, I am fearless, all of these I am themes relating to Aries, which is the warrior archetype. Now, this eclipse is taking place at 29 degrees. So I'll be reading to you guys the Sabian symbol for 30 degrees. But I want you guys just to marinate on that 29 for a minute, right? We know in astrology, we have 0 to 29 of each sign. So in some scenarios, this can be seen as having to act quickly, things coming very swiftly, needing to take some kind of action in the area of our chart that is connected to Aries. So even if you don't have any Aries placements, you have to take a look at where Aries is in your chart. It's hard not to. The sun's been going through there. We've had conjunctions with Chiron and also Jupiter leading up to this eclipse. And this is the second new moon. And 29 degrees has a couple of different meanings. Now, degree astrology in particular has connections to Leo, right? 29 is about the mark of a king. It has connections to the heart space, so it's about what we love. It's about the literal, the physical heart, power, rulers, the sun in general, entertainment, and gold. So these are all really prominent things we're going to be hearing about. But in the sign of Aries, I think it's going to be the heart of our personal desires, the heart of our personal passions when it comes to the physical health in the body. I have lots of information for you guys, but for starters, yes, heart health is going to be a huge theme in general, as well anything connecting to armies, right, and veterans. The Aries rules the head, so the head, brain, and other parts of the head is connected to that as well. And I think we're going to be hearing more about that in the world also with the solar eclipse. Now let's start with also the theme of Saturn, right? 29 degrees we see as a Saturn degree. I'll get into the energetic degree in just a moment, but just know that this represents a mastering energy. Now, the good news is, like I said, this will play out over time. So as other planetary aspects start to activate this degree, we're going to see over the next year or so that we're going to be able to master the area of Aries in our chart. And also we've got Jupiter that is close by, right? One of the most beneficial planets in the skies. He is invisible at the time of the eclipse. He is hiding behind the sun and the moon. And you guys are going to see that while some of the events that come about from this solar eclipse are sudden and dramatic, and they are really pivotal turning points, which may feel like crisis, we're going to find out that it was really for the better, right, of our evolution, and that Jupiter kind of has our back and he has a plan. And yeah, so I'll just leave it at that. The positives is that this particular decan of Aries, the third decan of Aries, has connections to Jupiter, okay? So it is about expansion, it is about abundance, it is about positivity and wealth. It can also be about travel. So I think that individuals are expanding their philosophy, their spiritual abilities, their belief systems, they're educating themselves, and they're also really asking themselves what it is that they believe in, right? What is it that they want to share? Why is positivity and happiness so important right now more than anything else with some of these conjunctions? Now, the tarot card that's connected to this decan of Aries is the Four of Wands. And many of you guys have seen that card before. It has connections to obviously marriages and celebrations and gatherings. But this is a very positive card. So it reflects harmony, positive feelings, hard work yielding good results. According to the Rider-Waite system, it's seen as like country life, right? So being out and celebrating the harvest coming in and being able to have a feast, refuge with like-minded people, domestic harvest, home, harmony, prosperity, peace, and perfecting all of these things by coming together with other people. It is temporary spaces, but this can be a positive omen of good things to come, things to celebrate, like birthdays, engagements, retirements, weddings, birthdays, babies, right? This can be stuff that's coming from this particular eclipse. Now, like I said, it's a black solar eclipse. Sounds kind of weird, right? Black moon. Very unusual to have two new moons in one particular season. So obviously Sky Daddy and the cosmos really want us to learn a lot about Aries, and they want to make sure that we understand everything from 0 to 29 degrees. But more on this anaretic degree, right? So not all astrologers subscribe to this, but I have found that 29 degrees is the marking of a star, right? Or a celebrity or something that's royal or regal. It's about romance, it's about passion, but 29 degrees, being seen as an anaretic degree, does have this final kind of like feeling to it. Like it's like a make or break because it's right before we see the ingress into the next sign. So some astrologers refer to this as a critical degree or a degree of fate. So it's believed that when a planet is positioned at this degree, it carries a sense of urgency and intensity as it's desperately trying to complete its mission or fulfill its purpose before moving into the next sign. Astrologers all have different interpretations of this degree. Some believe that it represents a crisis turning point for an individual, whether you have that natally or in a transit. Others see this as a degree of high creativity, as the intensity of the energy is channeled through powerful expression and achievement. The energetic degree is often associated with a feeling of restlessness and a sense of unfinished business. This is seriously in the sign of Aries, because there is this impatience that comes through Aries. But at least we're getting to the last degrees where Aries is really learning how to like execute tasks appropriately before being able to rest and retire in the meadows of Taurus season. Like I said, not all astrologers see the same perspective, but I, for one, have seen both in natal and transits that this does generally mark a pivotal turning point that comes abruptly, and it can really significantly impact our individual purpose and our life path. And that's true with eclipses too. You know, I see with eclipses, more souls transition within those 2 or 3 weeks around eclipse season. I see more endings of jobs, relocations, but I also see life. I see new life coming on board, especially being in the sign of Aries. Aries is a fire sign, so it's about what we are personally initiating. So going after that job, you know, making the relocation, you know, showing up in the relationship, having the family, all of these things can come up, but it's all going to be based off of what personal goals we're setting in motion and what we're actually actively doing to bring about this good fortune that's on the way. Now, like I said, this is the first of a series of eclipses that are taking place in Aries and then Libra. We're going to see the Libra eclipse taking place in the fall. And this is going to be the first of 2 eclipses. So this one, and then 2 weeks later, around the beginning of May, we're going to see a lunar eclipse that's going to be in Scorpio, and it's going to be very rock'em sock'em with oppositions to Uranus. But basically now, through March of 2025, we're going to be seeing eclipses happening in Aries and Libra. So it's going to be bringing up that Aries-Libra axis. We're going to be really focusing on the North Node in Aries, especially over the summer, where we're focusing on more passion, drive, action, physically showing up. We're channeling that inner warrior. We're working with Mars, right? We've had almost 2 years of North Node in Taurus where it's been pleasure and resources and groundedness. Now we're going to be focusing more on our bodies and defenses and strength. And also it has this more Mars kind of masculine side to it. Now, during a solar eclipse in Aries in general, obviously solar eclipses when the moon passes between the Earth and the Sun. So it's casting a shadow on the Earth, and it's blocking out the sun's light. So something is getting eclipsed out, which is why we can't see everything during an eclipse. Making big decisions during eclipses, especially ones that might be life or death, surgical procedures, like things like that, like let the energy settle post-eclipse before we do any of those things if we can help it. But obviously life happens, especially with this eclipse. I think there's going to be some curveballs that we don't see coming. But astrologically speaking, a solar eclipse is a very potent astrological event, and it will have a significant effect on everybody's life, primarily because it has a connection to the North Node. So it's about where we are all going collectively. Now, the North Node hasn't moved into Aries yet, but it's within a 5-degree orb, so it's in conjunction to the North Node, really highlighting that whole gotta wrap up Aries before we go into Taurus vibe. Now, not only will the North Node be dropping into Aries, but Jupiter, which is in Aries, will be dropping into Taurus. So there's some kind of abundance on the way. There's some kind of physical shift on the way. There's some kind of expansion on the way. And for many people, this can be an indication that action will allow you to bring in more, to have more resources, to be better grounded, and also more so financially solid. But it's going to be about who is going to be thinking on their feet and acting accordingly. Now, this eclipse simultaneously happening right around the time Mercury is stationing tells me that individuals taking action and being almost like, action-oriented and defensive about some of their material possessions and their financial investments are going to be the ones who are going to come out on top. Aries is a fire sign that is associated with independence, courage, leadership. It represents also initiation, right? Because it starts something. So it's like striking a match. It's also about enthusiasm, especially with Jupiter being in that sign, and self-discovery. Being that Aries is the first sign of the zodiac, it represents new beginnings, fresh start, and the spark of inspiration that ignites our passions and desires. So when a solar eclipse happens in Aries, it's a powerful time for new beginnings and setting intentions. Go back to the new moon intentions that you were putting together when we had the new moon in Aries that was taking place in March, okay, just this last month. It's a time to take action, embrace our courage, step into leadership roles. A solar eclipse here can help us tap into our inner fire and unleash our creative potential. My advice though is wait, just wait. Let's wait a couple days until this energy shakes out. But I think that the events that come up during the eclipse are going to show you exactly what actions to take and what direction to go in. However, Aries is associated with Mars, right? It's also a cardinal sign. It is the baby of the zodiac, so it can be impulsive. It can be a little impatient. It's important to exercise caution and avoid making hasty decisions or taking unnecessary risks. A solar eclipse here can bring up issues relating to our self-identity and assertion, so how we are asserting ourselves. And it may prompt us to examine our beliefs, values, and goals and make necessary adjustments. So cool your jets, right? And I think a lot of people said this with the new moon that we had in Aries last month. But in this case, there's so many aspects playing out, pivotal degrees, a retrograde getting ready to happen, the sun and the moon conjunct Jupiter, making this all feel bigger, and a square to Pluto where people are going to feel threatened. We don't want to be taking any actions where there could be, us being too aggressive or too combative or too assertive, because we can almost react too quickly, or maybe there can be a sense of us being a little bit too confrontational, or aggressive with other people. Now, historically speaking, eclipses, right? So, in astrology, we kind of look at eclipses as pivotal turning points. And this can be events that are preceding a solar eclipse or just around solar eclipse time in general. In ancient times, solar eclipses were seen as omens of significant events. Now, they could be both positive or negative. In some cultures, it was believed that a solar eclipse signaled the onset of a great catastrophe or a disaster, such as war, famine, natural disasters, or the fall of a king. In others, it's seen as a time of transformation, new beginnings, and the potential for positive change. One traditional belief is that the effects of a solar eclipse are felt most strongly in the region of where it's visible. And astrologers often look up the zodiac sign and the degree and gain insights into the areas of life where it's most affected. Additionally, us astrologers believe that a period leading up to a solar eclipse is a time of heightened energy and tension. So we are in that now if you're watching at the beginning of April. And it's a time where events or situations that have been building up for some time finally come to a head, and significant changes must occur. The periods in between eclipses, so even after this eclipse for the next 2 weeks up until the beginning of May when we have the lunar eclipse in Scorpio, we are also going to see this is a very potent time for manifestation and transformation. So this is not the usual rules that apply to a new or a full moon. Really anything goes for the 2 weeks to follow. Now, I took a look at the most recent solar eclipse that we had at this degree, okay? I'm not gonna go way back. I'm just gonna go back to the most recent one. And something kind of caught my eye, not to get political, but in April of 2004, okay? So this was April 19th, 2004. On and around this eclipse was when the Department of Justice proposed and integrated the USA Patriot Act. So this was going on obviously post 9/11 and the terrorist attacks that we had in New York City with the Twin Towers. But this is when they started integrating into legislation changes that were going to be happening that were going to impact and infringe on our right to privacy. Okay, whether you agree with it or not, now in retrospect, years later, we see the effects that this has had on traveling. We've seen the effects that it's had also on government surveillance. Now, at the time, President Bush was in office, and that week during the time of the eclipses, him and Dick Cheney and other cabinet members were testifying with the 9/11 Board Commission in private. So there were conversations that were had privately that were not documented, that were behind closed doors. So I find it interesting that just around the time of the eclipse, these crisis scenarios break out. And, we're hearing like, oh, there's potential threats still of, terrorist attacks. We were obviously involved in Afghanistan and the war that was brewing in the Middle East. I know there was also tensions with Syria as well as Libya, and issues in regards to oil trade, and people accusing them of hiking and manipulating oil prices due to fear, okay? So just food for thought, interesting. Prompted me to want to go and pull up information that I actually pulled from the Department of Justice. Very simple page, the Department of Justice's kind of condensed version of the USA Patriot Act. You guys can look this up. They put preserving life and liberty. Congress enacted the Patriot Act by overwhelming bipartisan margins, arming law enforcement with new tools to detect and prevent terrorism. The act improves our counterterrorism efforts in several significant ways. The Patriot Act allows investigators to use tools that were already available to investigate organized crime and drug trafficking. It allows law enforcement to use surveillance against more crimes of terror. Allows federal agents to follow sophisticated terrorists trained to evade detection. Allows law enforcement to conduct investigations without tipping off terrorists. Allows federal agents to ask a court for an order to obtain business records in national security terrorism cases. The Patriot Act facilitated information sharing and cooperation among government agencies so they can better connect the dots. The Patriot Act updated the law to reflect new technologies and new threats. The act brought up the law to date with the current technology. We no longer have to fight a digital age battle with antique weapons. Allows law enforcement officials to obtain search warrant anywhere terrorist-related activity has occurred. Allows victims of computer hacking to request law enforcement assistance in monitoring the trespassers on their computers. The Patriot Act increased penalties for those who commit terrorist crimes, prohibits harboring of terrorists, enhanced and adequate maximum penalties, various crimes likely to be committed by terrorists, enhance the number of conspiracy penalties, punishes terrorist attacks on mass transit systems, punishes bioterrorists, eliminates the statutes of limitation for certain terrorist crimes, and lengthens them for terrorist crimes. So obviously, we don't want terrorists, right? Like, that just goes without having to even being said, but I guess I have to say it. I'm not against there being support for that. My point is that this is very simple, what the page that I have, but it's giving them a lot of power to determine who is a threat, who is a terrorist, what it means to be, a terrorist, what does it mean to terrorize people, and what is it that they have access to, business records, digital transactions, digital information. And now down the road, I think a lot of people are looking at this going like, well, did we sign away our rights to privacy by committing ourselves to agreeing with a Patriot Act? Something that really grinds my gears that I've been learning about the older that I get, learning about legislation and things that get passed, is that oftentimes things are getting passed that are hundreds of pages long. Half the time, the lawmakers themselves do not know what's in it. A lot of things are being buried in these things that we would never know, that has nothing to do with the title. For example, just in recent years, the lowering of taxes act, or the stuff that they were pushing through for inflation, often had a lot of contradictory things within it that really had nothing to do with, or was not really supporting, lowering of inflation or lowering of costs. So I guess my point is that what may come from this particular eclipse is situations where we're being told we must act on this now. There is a threat. If we do not do this now, we are going to have a problem. And I think that this is true also because of the square to Pluto. In my mind, that's the most glaringly obvious thing about this particular eclipse. I guess I can go ahead and get into the aspects. But when we have a solar eclipse, obviously the sun and the moon come together, right? That is the new moon. But because it's so close to the nodes, this is where it's getting eclipsed out. Now, sun and moon square Pluto. We've got the consciousness, action, vitality, exalted sun in Aries, moon, emotions, impulsiveness, intuition in a hard angle with less than a degree of a square to Pluto. That's very potent because this energy is going to reverberate out for the next several weeks and months ahead. A solar eclipse square Pluto can be a powerful and intense aspect that brings about significant changes and transformation, but it also poses some threats and challenges. Solar eclipses are already known for being potent opportunities for new beginnings and growth, but when combined with this intense square that's coming from Pluto, it's likely to bring about profound shifts for everybody's life, especially being the fact that these planets, the sun and the moon, are conjunct the North Node. It will affect everyone. The square aspect indicates tension and conflict, which likely will manifest as power struggles, control issues, and confrontation with external forces. There may be a feeling of being trapped or powerless in facing challenging circumstances. On a positive note, this aspect can provide us with the opportunity to face our fears and limitations and transform ourselves in profound ways. It can help us shed old patterns and beliefs that no longer serve us and help us embrace a new way of being, which is so true with the solar eclipse, especially in the sign of Aries. Individuals with this aspect in their birth chart have a tendency towards compulsive or self-destructive behaviors, and it can also possess a tremendous amount of inner strength and resilience. The key here is learning how to harness this inner power in more constructive ways. So during this eclipse, just keep in mind that there can be some significant challenges or crises that arise, but it's really coming up for us to confront our deepest fears and desires. And it can be a profound time for transformation and growth as long as we're not getting caught up in the struggle. Now, even though we have all this action in Aries, and Jupiter is kind of behind the curtain, peeking over and seeing like, how are you going to respond to this crisis? What are you learning from the pressure? Pluto is the one to watch because this eclipse is like encapsulating in so many ways the better part of like the next, April? So May, June, July, August, the next 4 months, where we're going to feel Pluto in a square with the North and the South node, right? I'm going to do a whole video on this, but I'm calling this like the reluctant souls, right? Raise your hand if you have Pluto square the nodes. Hi, that would be me. I've seen throughout my life how Pluto square the nodes is just like this constant grinding you into the pavement. If you don't change this, if you don't transform this, if you don't continually just kill off and resurrect things and learn how to change and transform this area of your life, you're never really going to get to your dharma or your purpose, right? It's kind of landlocked between the South node of where you've been and the North node of where you're going. So I encourage all of you guys to actively participate in this square, because what you can find is that when you're willing to confront the skeletons in the closet, when you're willing to combat that fear, there can be amazing breakthroughs. With eclipses, solar eclipse, you know, it is a new moon. So we're going to have about 6 months to work with this until this fully matures into what's going to be a full moon that will be taking place down the road in Aries. The good news is that the sister eclipses that we're going to have for this, you know, we're going to have one that's going to be in Taurus in the fall, will be conjunct Jupiter. So you're going to see the silver lining as to why we had to work so hard and go through this crisis. We will also see, you know, other full moons that are going to be taking place in eclipses next year that will be in Aries in the fall. I think the big thing that sticks out for me with the square to Pluto is that it says, you know, evolve or die. I mean, I know that sounds so dramatic, but we must go through this change and this transformation in order to evolve. So seeing Pluto in the sign of the collective, it's about a collective mass shock. It's about collective rebelliousness. You know, people kind of saying like, we can't deal with this toxic situation any longer. We can't deal with these power struggles any longer. And it's coming into a square with Aries, but really most of the planets, even hours later, are going to be moving into Taurus. So it's going to be about tech, the tech world, big business, and the effect that it has on banks, politics, and the effect that it has on banking, resources, food, and finance, technology, and our bodies. Guys, from this eclipse, there's going to be lots of fear porn, okay? I'm just telling you this now. That's going to come out. That's going to be like, how are you going to eat? How are you going to, you know, afford things? How are you going to pay for things? And then the government's going to come in and go, here you go. We're going to save you. We're going to give you this convenient thing, or we're going to offer you this solution. Just put this chip in your arm. Give us your fingerprint. Sign up for the system. It's quick. You know, we can help you move through this very swiftly. Jupiter's coming into Taurus soon, and we're going to see that this is going to be about a mass transfer of resources. All of the money, obviously in smaller community banks, it's all being shuffled into some of the larger banks. In my mind, it's a scary thing because I kind of feel like we're literally being corralled and pushed into a situation where if and when, touch wood, down the road, they decide to implement a digital system or a CBDC, there's going to be less banks to have to deal with. Most of the masses are going to have all of their resources in a select few places. And if they all align with what big tech wants or what surveillance, you know, governments want or politicians want, right? Aquarius, it's going to challenge us. And we'll see this for the next few months. Not just Pluto square the nodes, but the Jupiter squares and the fact that Pluto will go in and out of Aquarius. We are still in the preview at the movie theater right now for what Pluto and Aquarius is actually going to be bringing us from 2024 on. But I think about the eclipse and the fact that it's on the cusp of Taurus. So it's saying we have to get all the action out of the way so we can enjoy the rest, recuperation, the pleasure, so we can be in the body. So I've talked through the Mercury retrograde video about the fact that fear is going to come up that's going to try to pull you out of your body to stay grounded, but wrapping up lessons before we get into Taurus, right? 2 new moons in Aries, one at 0, one at 29. We really have to get active. We have to be assertive. We have to be bold. We have to be courageous. We can't be afraid to speak up. We can't be afraid to educate ourselves, defend ourselves, and also become more so knowledgeable about our rights, right? Jupiter in Aries is about our own rights and our own governing and the ability to know right from wrong, right? Really making sure that we have strong personal morals and the willingness to speak up about those morals. The sun and the moon square Pluto, but also the sun and the moon conjunct the nodes. So it's saying that people are going to be, you know, focusing on taking action to preserve their money, resources, their stability, their bodies, their home, right? And like learning more about food. I think with Jupiter being invisible, he is waiting to see whether or not those of us who take action are going to actually take action and follow through. You know, something has always kind of been like my go-to for years has been the phrase, fortune favors the bold, right? Because you're going to miss 100% of the chances that you don't take. So with some of these pivotal degrees coming up and Jupiter standing by, it's like he's waiting to see, like, are you willing to risk it all? Are you willing to step into something that is sudden and scary, and it's going to really kind of put you on the spot to fight or work or push forward? And those of you guys who are bold, I think, are going to be the ones who are going to come out on top, literally, physically, and financially. So you have to be willing to take amazing steps forward and be willing to kind of take chances. Mars is the ruler of Aries. Mars is obviously debilitated in the sign of Cancer. So we've got Mars in a sign that doesn't want to fight. It wants to angry cry, or it wants to fight in a passionate manner, or using emotions to fight, or protecting our home, our families. We are going to see mamas that are going to want to protect their children. We're going to see families that are going to want to be protecting their home. I think this is going to incentivize a lot of people to start kind of going like, okay, what do I need to do to protect my community, my people? And even if it's not your immediate family, it could be your neighbors, it could be your friends, it could be your partners, your roommates, right? So we're going to feel a lot more emotionally sensitive and emotionally reactive. Unfortunately, we don't have a lot of support with Mars, right? Mars is out of the trine with Saturn. It's not quite into a trine with Neptune quite yet. And this will be one of 2 eclipses that are going to be Mars ruled. Now, in 2 weeks' time, when we come into the lunar eclipse in Scorpio, Mars will trine Neptune. So we'll have some support then. But right now, we have a pretty under-aspected Mars. The only thing we've got working for us is we've got Mercury, which is stationing, getting ready to retrograde, making a sextile to Mars. Now, with Mercury in close conjunction to Uranus, our mind is like firing at all cylinders. We're getting all the information, we're listening to our intuition, and that is going to be our guide in terms of how to take action. But we have to listen to our emotions to be able to better kind of make decisions moving forward. And like I said, Mercury is stationing, so it's literally going to be the very next day as the moon is coming into connection with Mercury and Uranus that we're going to see some shocking information that might kind of come out. I also feel like this is really playing off of the fact that listening to the information coming out, or intuition, is going to help us better kind of make decisions moving forward. Besides that, we will see some other activations of this particular eclipse, and I want to give you guys those dates now. So when I say reactivation, remember, eclipses unfold over time. So when outer planets hit this degree, when the North Node hits this degree, when we see oppositions to this degree, we're going to feel this intensely again, and it'll continue to kind of reverberate and play out because we're planting seeds here. These might not come true for another 6 months, for another several years. So when are we going to see this get reactivated? Well, May the 12th through the 16th. So May the 12th through the 16th. Right here. So when Jupiter hits 29 degrees, okay, which it'll be the 12th through the 16th of May, it will reactivate this eclipse. So Jupiter is bringing in the goodies, it's bringing in the knowledge, it's bringing in the expansion. Yes, it's going to magnify things in a very big way. But I feel like it can be that we're realizing like, okay, I made the right decision. I made the right move. Like I feel good, or I'm like learning more about something. And it's going to bring some sense of like personal awareness, validation, more opportunities for wealth, and also for travel. Now it'll only be here for 4 days. So Jupiter will hang out at that pivotal 29. I imagine this is going to really be bringing up the intensity of Aries related things in the world, right? So we're going to hear more about them beating the drums of war. We're going to hear more about potential of heated exchanges and threats and missiles and all that stuff. But I also feel like the intensity is coming from the fact that Jupiter is getting ready to drop in to 0 degrees, which is the most potent degree. And it's going to come into Taurus, which is going to be about expansion of money, wealth, the planet, and on the 17th, it will square Pluto with the moon. So watch the morning of May 17th. Moon conjunct Jupiter in Taurus, conjunct the North Node, chef's kiss, right? This may be that there is some crazy rebound with the market and there's a rally, but I also feel like this may be bringing up the fact that there is new information coming out about the future of wealth and banking, and the squares to Pluto is not pretty. So even though this is generally pretty positive, this square is not. And you'll see that play out 17th, 18th, 19th as the moon goes through Taurus. This will get reactivated again June 11th through July 27th. And that will be when Pluto is at 29 degrees of Capricorn. So Pluto will go retrograde. It'll come back into Capricorn, and it'll sit at 29 degrees from June 11th to July 27th. Why is this important? Well, for starters, the North and the South Node are still square Pluto. So we are in that cosmic pressure cooker really all through the summer with Pluto square the nodes. You know, they say like, you know, the frogs don't feel that they're being cooked, right? Until like the water is boiling. So for some of us, we might be like, everything's fine, it's okay. And then we look around in July and we're like, oh my goodness, there is this meltdown going on. Now I'm more aware of it. So I would be really careful to just dismiss, oh, it's not a big deal. It's not going to happen to me. It's not going to affect me. Because a lot of people are going to realize this summer that some of the economic things going on with banks that are closing down, issues also in regards to the fact that the United States cannot pay the debt that they owe, and that we're getting ready to default on some things. And if we aren't going to default, it's going to be because we're going to print more money, which is just going to further screw up the US economy. And it's all going to hit home over the summer. So I'm sorry to say that, but I think between this eclipse and the financial side of a Scorpio eclipse in 2 weeks' time, the writing is on the wall. That North Node will move towards Pluto, okay? So Pluto will retrograde from 0 back to about 27 degrees. So Any time that the north and the south node are within range of 5 degrees, we're in the square. So that's June, July, August. Now, the next time that comes up for me is going to be July 17th through the 29th. And this is when the north and the south node are going to be at 29 degrees. Actually, it's July 18th. Yeah. Is it 17th, 18th? Yeah, I guess it's the 17th. I'm splitting hairs here. So it's going to be the July 17th, 2023. Okay, so we've got the north node at 29 of Aries, south node at 29 of Libra, squaring Pluto at 29. And this will be on a new moon in Cancer. Holy smokes, guys. Mid-July is like, ah! So when that square happens, we're going to have a grand cardinal cross, which is all going to be enacting change in several different areas. Get ready, cardinal signs. You guys are the ones on the hot seats now because you're going to start having eclipses that are going to be affecting you. In particular, Aries and Libra, sun, moon, and rising. Because the north node will sit at 29 degrees from the 17th of July through the 29th, we're really going to feel the effects of Pluto's square. And once again, when planets or placements are at 29 degrees, it's pivotal. So that July 17th until the sun hits 29 through the 22nd, mark my words, watch what's going on in the world within that particular several day period. That's when we're all going to realize we're getting cooked. Right around the time Venus is getting ready to retrograde in Leo too. All right, so, and then finally, we're going to see from December 20th, 23, Pluto will return to 29 degrees. So Pluto will be direct. And from December 20th through January 21st, 2024, Pluto will be at 29 degrees, squaring this solar eclipse degree, still bringing up the power struggle, still bringing up the changes in politics and government and how it affects individuals and relationships. We're going to see more squabbles going on in regards to whether or not people are able to make amends, right? South Node and Libra, we're going to see lots of like partnerships that are going to break up. We're going to see relationships that are going to end. It's just going to be harder to keep the peace and find the middle ground because individuals are going to become so passionate and direct and feisty about their perspective with the North Node in Aries. I do feel like this is also going to be about conflict that we're having in relationships with our partners, with our friends, with our coworkers, our family, about politics and what's going wrong in the world. And it's going to create more strife, and it's also going to create more division. So the lesson in all of this is realizing that there is an agenda to divide people. There is an agenda to get people to argue, because if people are arguing and not seeing eye to eye, they're not able to sit down and mediate. And we're going to lose some of the ability of Libra's ability to mediate with the South Node being in Libra. So from December 20th to January 21st, we feel that Pluto square, and then it begins to calm down. Okay. The next time that this is going to be really reactivating for me also is going to be in the fall, when we see Mars in Libra. So when Mars hits 29 degrees, so that's going to be right around October 10th. Let's take it through like the solar eclipse on the 14th, because Mars will be in its, debilitation in Libra, and it's going to be opposing that degree. And then down the road, several years from now, in 2026, in May of 2026, this is something that I just kind of peeped. You guys know I like to look way far out into the future. But around May 16th, we're going to see Mars hit that degree of 28, 29 degrees with Chiron. Okay? So yes, this is 3 years away. I know. But I have a hunch that part of what's going to be happening in 2026, when Neptune and Saturn are in Aries, we find out that there is mass numbers of people who are having really, really significant health problems. I'll give you the list of things that concern me in a minute. mental health issues, physical health issues, immune issues, with Saturn conjunct Neptune, dependent on pharmaceuticals. We may find out that there are all kinds of exploding numbers of health-related issues and healing crisis that's coming up. Mars conjunct Chiron in the last degrees. Now, specifically, you know, like I said, Aries rules specific parts of the body. You're going to hear just in general terms that it rules anything in regards to the head. Bring this back here. And yes, that's true. The head, the face, especially the forehead, the nose, not the bones, that's Scorpio, but the nose in general, mouth, eyes, the optic nerves, and the lenses of the eyes. The brain, okay, including the blood vessels, motor centers, frontal and lateral lobes, and the cerebral spinal system and the muscular system. I was listening to a podcast earlier today that was talking about how, like, why it's so important to have good lung health, and that so much of the air that we take in, the oxygen that we take in, is a mass majority is going directly to our brain and to our heart, and everything else just kind of gets flown through there, through our you know, all of our veins and all of our other systems. That any health issues that impact our heart is going to impact the oxygen that goes to our brain, which will affect the way that we think. It affects our temperament. It affects everything in regards to the ability to see and the ability to reason. In particular, 29 degrees of Aries is connected to bronchitis, okay? So bronchitis, wheezing, congestion, not being able to breathe, which there in turn not only affects our lung health, but our ability to get air to our brains and our heart. This is something you guys want to watch for, okay? So whether that we just notice that people's immune systems are crap because of what they've put in their body and what they've been eating, or it's stress, or it's other things that they have taken into their body, you guys really want to stock up on warm herbs that are going to help prevent or better treat bronchitis. I'm talking about ginger, garlic, fire cider, peppermint oil, eucalyptus oil, anything that's going to open up the lungs, help us breathe. Because they think that we're going to see, this is going to be an eclipse that is going to be prompting people having more issues with the common cold and flu, and respiratory issues just in general. Now, Mercury rules the lungs, right? So we're watching Mercury going retrograde in the sign of Taurus, which can be about people getting really mentally stressed out about what's going on financially, but also changes with food. And part of health is about making sure that you understand what you're eating and where your food comes from, and making sure that you're really nurturing and nourishing the body. So brain health, heart health, lung health, right? If you're coughing up a lot, consider looking into, you know, taking some mullein. You can take it in herbal form. You can put it in a dropper and put it in water. And anything that's going to be helping kind of sweat stuff out of the system. So infrared saunas, laying in the sun, you know, making sure that you guys are getting all your vitamins and minerals in. It's so incredibly important because your wealth is in your health. This is what we're going to learn from some of these particular transits. Now, if you want to work with crystals in particular, I would recommend bloodstone for purifying the body. It's also great for staying grounded. Red jasper, carnelian, really great for courage and passion, and just really kind of working up some of those creative energies. Tiger's eye and hematite for protection. If you have crystal quartz clusters with iron on it too, I like using that during Aries transits. If you like to work with herbs, okay, rosemary, spearmint, warm spices. So I think of like clove and cinnamon, and like I happen to really love things that are like pickled and fermented. I've been eating like pickled garlic. I've been eating a lot of kimchi. I'm like making sure I'm getting in all my peppers and my spices. I love having hot tea and putting stuff in it. I've been using like rosemary for digestional stuff. I've been putting it now on my hair. Also really great for Aries placements. And if you guys want to ritualize things, okay, just hear me out on this. This is an eclipse square Pluto, and this is an eclipse that we don't have all the facts yet. So I would recommend waiting until the moon is either coming into Taurus, or wait until the moon is starting to come into contact with Venus in Gemini just a couple days later. I personally won't do stuff on eclipses. The only thing I will do on eclipses is I will sometimes bottle and I'll make my oils. Like if I want to make a planetary oil specifically for a sign, I'll do that during an eclipse. I don't do anything else. I won't do readings because the energy is so scattered and I feel like I get slimed. I won't do anything crazy. I generally like to fast or meditate. I like to, you know, have calming music. I like to burn some candles and really just focus on letting the energies settle. And I wait until the moon makes a more positive aspect before I start kind of doing any like ritual work. So take into consideration, because we don't see everything, going and doing a crazy offering and altars and spiritual stuff and, you know, doing spells and stuff, you don't really know what you're going to get. And I would say be careful what you ask for because of the squares to Pluto. So I'm sure most of you guys are wondering who this is going to affect the most, right? So obviously 27 to 29 degrees of Aries, sun, moon, and rising, you guys are going to feel this the most strongly. But frankly, any Aries placement is going to feel it. Equally, 0 to 2 degrees of the fixed signs. So Taurus, if you have 0 to 2 degrees there, you're going to feel it's going to be conjunct. Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius, you guys are going to feel this as well because you're going to feel the squares. Yes, Leo, you know, ruled charts also because you're a solar chart, you're going to feel this. Solar eclipses do affect you. This will be my tarot and rising sign predictions for each and every one of the 12 signs. I am a Western tropical astrologer, so I practice Western astrology. This will be whole sign predictions for all of the 12 signs. If you are a Placidus user like me, you need to listen to 29 degrees of Aries and see where it is in your chart. But hear me out here. In this situation, I would really recommend listening to your whole sign. I think everybody has a lot to get from the whole sign because it's going to be in the whole sign Aries before you go into Taurus. So even though you're wrapping things up in the area of Aries and you're setting intentions for what you want to learn, keep in mind it's in preparation before planets ingress into your second, you know, house to the eclipse, so into Taurus. The North Node is still there. There's a Mercury retrograde there. The Sun and Moon will move there later in the day. And then you're going to have Jupiter show up in May. So actually, this is a solar eclipse in Aries that's kind of blending into Taurus. So you can listen to your whole sign, okay? Let me make this a whole sign chart real quick for you guys. So that way we can take it through the 12 signs. And I don't know if I said this, but you guys can use your progress chart as well, because I know sometimes people ask. All right. And remember to check your time zones, okay, guys, because it's going to be the 19th or the 20th, depending on where you are in the world. Once again, let's work with the Lucid Dreams Beginners Tarot. I like this. And I will give you guys my predictions along with tarot. All right, so this is for Aries and Aries rising. What's going on, guys? Double the trouble, double the fun for you. This is a solar eclipse that's going to be taking place in your first house if you're an Aries rising. Well, a solar eclipse in the first house definitely brings about significant changes and new beginnings to your life in general. It's all about your personal identity and your sense of self. So this may be a time to really reassess your goals, your values, your desires, and how to make important decisions about what direction your life is going in, okay? My advice here, Aries, is ask yourself, what is going to make you happy? What's going to make your heart sing? Aries has, you know, this feeling of life and vitality and action, and bringing the sun into the first house, it's like what you're going to be the most drawn to. Obviously, the sun rules the fifth house, so there is this sense of leaping into what's going to make your heart sing. It also can be, for Aries risings or Aries moons, an indication or potential pregnancy because of the connection to the fifth house and the fact that Jupiter is in your first house. So that can happen as well. Joy, creativity, expansion, travel. These are all things that can also happen as a result of this eclipse in your sign. if it's happening on your birthday, right? Let's say like the 18th, 19th, 20th. Oh my goodness, this is going to be a solar return for the books. I hope it's as magical as it looks. Let's see what the cards say for you, Aries. The card that I got is the Page of Cups. So this is idealism, dreamer, sensitivity, innocent, curiosity, possibilities, intuitive messages. Pages are younger people, so it can be about you spending more time with a younger person, a child, getting in touch with your inner artist, feeling really dreamy and whimsical. This can also bring up themes, once again, in regards to pregnancy, because this is children. Now, if you're like, I already have kids, no more, or I don't want any, it's about romance and your desires and what you're envisioning and kind of tapping into, right? Something else that I would say with the eclipse being in the first house is that there can be really dramatic reveals in regards to your body. And so there can be a sense of you really kind of getting in tune with like what comes naturally, you know, how you want to wear your hair, how you want to look, how you want to dress, and just learning to be more in tune with your body. Okay. Good luck, my Aries. For Taurus and Taurus rising, we've got a solar eclipse that'll be taking place in the sign of Aries in your natal 12th house. Okay, so for you guys, this is going to be, it might be a little bumpy, okay, because it's in your 12th house and it does represent something that is more hidden and subconscious. The sun's connection to your 4th house of home and family, you want to really be watching and paying attention to solar figures. Fathers, husbands, grandfathers, uncles, brothers, right? Male children. Keep an eye on them because there can be a sense of somebody who's going through something. They need some support. There's something hidden in regards to a relative or a family member, or somebody who's needing some kind of hospital assistance or intervention. In particular, a solar eclipse that's going to be taking place in your natal 12th house brings about significant transformation to your unconscious or inner mind. It's a time to confront fears and limitations and work through developing a healthier relationship with deeper aspects of the psyche. So get quiet, get somewhere private, take time, meditate, reflect, because you might be feeling a little squirrely. This eclipse is right on the cusp, right, of your 1st house, which is your body. So I think it's going to be about, do I need more rest? Do I need recuperation? Am I healing something? All while you got a retrograde in your 1st house. So if you're feeling under the weather, if you're feeling a little bit just mentally exhausted, there is a need to turn inward and really rest and recuperate. And I think that you're going to be feeling a little bit better when you're getting planets that are moving into your 1st house in the next month. Let's see what the cards say for you, Taurus. The card that I get is the Magician. I really love this card for this eclipse for you because I feel like this can be about shamanic work. It can be about meditation, hypnosis, past life regression, manifestation, focus, creativity, skill, turning visions into reality, inspiration, willpower, resources, and your ability. All 12th house, because the Magician is turning tricks, and it reminds us that as above, so below. And the 12th house is above us, right? It's where spirit drops in. So there may be like an opportunity for you to get really focused on your vision, your manifestations, what you're kind of working on behind the scenes before something fully comes to fruition in the weeks ahead. Good luck. For Gemini and Gemini rising, you've got a solar eclipse taking place in Aries in your natal 11th house. Friends, goals, networks, associations, parties, gatherings. This can be a really fun place to have an eclipse. In particular, the connection of the sun does make me feel like there can be good news or exciting news that's coming from siblings or neighbors. There could be a block party. There may even be a sense of joining like a new group online or joining a new group within your community. Now, a solar eclipse in the 11th will affect your social life and your sense of community. So it's a time to connect more deeply to friends and like-minded individuals or explore new forms of activism and social engagement. So I wonder, do you join a new app? Do you join a new like local group? You know, do you want to collaborate with local artists and creatives? Are you really wanting to like introduce friends to your partners, partners to your friends. That can be happening with Jupiter's close conjunction to this eclipse as well. I love that the 11th house is about dreams. And I love that it's really kind of saying in Aries where you're actively participating with other people. And on the cusp of the 12th house makes me feel like it's probably going to be like spiritual groups or groups that might be meeting in private or people who might be culturally diverse or even in other places in the world. Let's see what the cards say for you, Gemini. Oof. The card that I get is the 10 of Swords. So this is about challenges, personal endings, feeling a loss, being left behind, letting go, wounds, or failure. It's interesting that your chart ruler is going retrograde in the 12th and you've got an eclipse in the 11th. So I feel like if you're feeling in your head and you're like, oh, you know, somebody's, you know, throwing a party, I wasn't invited, or, you know, I'm trying to get into this club, but I can't quite seem to kind of swing it. There is a sense of feeling overwhelmed and disappointed if you're not getting the results that you want. But I feel like this is really highlighting like the need to kind of keep trying and trying again, right? Really expanding your social group and not feeling limited or kind of icing yourself out from communicating with some of these people. There can also just be more challenges with rest, recuperation right now, and like you're waiting to kind of connect with people and be more social, and people are reaching out to you going, where are you? You know, what's going on? More people might be calling you or getting in contact with you because of the sun's connection to your 3rd house. Good luck. For Cancer and Cancer rising, you have got a solar eclipse in Aries taking place in your natal 10th house. My goodness, my Cancers, now is the time. You are having some big breakout opportunities in regards to your career. The 10th house is all about your career and your public image. Now the sun has connections to the 2nd house of money and resources. So this seems to be kind of foreshadowing that from this eclipse forward, there's opportunities for raises, climbing the corporate ladder, you know, launching successful businesses, getting your time in the sun, more visibility, more money, and really showing your talent to the world. A solar eclipse here can definitely affect your career and your public image. It's a time to reassess your professional goals and priorities or to work towards improving your relationships with authority figures. But the truth is like with Jupiter being there, with the sun and the moon coming together, I think that a lot of you guys are realizing that you have to invest yourself in things that are going to really let your heart sing and really showcase your natural talents. But you know, there's no way around it. It's all eyes on you right now, right? And it's about all the chances that you take in regards to really show up for yourself in regards to your career. Big breakout opportunities might come. There can also be sudden shifts where people are, you know, leaving the office. Suddenly you're making changes. Jobs are beginning, jobs are ending. That's not unusual with eclipses in the 10th house. Especially if you have any placements around 27 to 29 degrees of Cancer, this is going to be rather intense for you. The cusp of the 11th house makes me feel like it's also about your goals in regards to networks and who you may potentially know who can help you, or how you're working and communicating with groups that may be more professional in nature. Oh, I love this. Ace of Pentacles. So this is all about new material offers, new job promotions, opportunities, manifestations, resources, stability, and prosperity. I'm pretty sure you will receive that. Let me know. I'm going to see all these I receive that comments below. Money, resources, stability. But I love that it speaks of promotion, right? And if you're like, I work for myself, or like I'm in a whatever job, like there is going to be opportunities to continue to grow, to excel, or you may be feeling restless and like you need to move on to greener pastures. But regardless, there is more financial security on the way. Good luck. For Leo and Leo rising, you're going to be having a solar eclipse taking place in the sign of Aries, a fellow sister sign in your natal 9th house. Yes, it's in the 9th house, right? So it's about travel, belief, philosophy, education, learning. But it's on the cusp of your midheaven, okay? So it still is about what you're learning or what you're getting ready to promote or what you're getting ready to share in regards to your career, because that's definitely happening. Maybe in regards to just your status in the world, because you got a retrograde there happening as well. Obviously, being ruled by the sun, solar eclipse is really important for you. And if you happen to be an Aries a Leo sun, moon, or rising, 27 to 29 degrees, you'll be experiencing a trine to your sun, moon, or rising. Solar eclipse in the 9th house affects your individual beliefs, spirituality, and your worldview, okay? It's a time to explore new forms of spirituality, philosophy, or reassess your approach to education and learning. So if you want to get into a new program, if you want to teach something, if you want a new certification, if you're traveling to go through some kind of training, planning a trip, right? Or just changing your philosophy about life in general, the 9th house is an overall lucky house. So I think with Jupiter being in the mix, conjunct your sun, it's really screaming there's so much opening up in terms of what you believe and what you know about the world and what or where you're willing to expand in. I'm really excited for you because I think this is going to be really wonderful. I know that it's going to have positive impacts in regards to either your career or your status. I do believe, though, that it is a hard angle for most of you guys, because unless you're a 29-degree Leo rising, you're going to actually feel the square to your ascendant, and you're going to feel the square to your descendant with Pluto. So yes, you're feeling the fixed cross energy that's coming in. Some of you guys are making big announcements like, I am now my own CEO, or I am now divorced, or I am actually deciding to, get engaged. Big things that you're putting out in the world. And I would say retrograde in your 10th, an eclipse conjunct it, Pluto in your 7th, all eyes are on you. So be mindful of what you do with that energy, okay? This can definitely be a big turning point that can be positive for your career. But it can also be things that are just totally magnified. So just be mindful of how you're coming across with other people. Let's see what the cards say for you, Leo. I get the 3 of Cups. I like this energy for you. Celebration, friendship, circle support, share joy, finding your place. And it's celebrating whatever is happening, right? Celebrating endings and beginnings, not just celebrating the positive things, but making room and clearing out things and saying farewell and like wishing them well as they go or as they kind of transition out of your life. But for the most part, I think this is a lot to celebrate. 9th house can also be about weddings, engagements, or ceremonies. So I'm wondering if that's what's coming up for some of you guys here as well. Good luck. For my Virgo and Virgo risings, we're going to have a new moon solar eclipse in the sign of Aries taking place in your natal 8th house. This is a little bit more of a challenging energy for you, Virgo, so just hang tight. Obviously, the 8th house is a house that deals with our entanglement with other people, money owed, joint resources, taxes. A solar eclipse here can bring about significant changes and transformation to your life, especially in relation to issues of power, intimacy, and joint resources. This is the time to confront any fears or limitations and work towards developing a healthier relationship with the shadow self. Now, in particular, the sun has connections to the 12th house. So I feel like if you are still working through some heartbreak, if you are still working through some self-undoing, if there's some intimacy issues, fear of making change, especially in regards to your own personal involvement with your intimate life or your finances, that's where it's going to get you. The North Node will be there soon, and as the North Node goes through the 8th house, you're going to learn all about regeneration and letting go and the support that comes from other people, and that endings make way for new beginnings, right? So there's a lot of this kind of in your chart right now. I would say just try to remain open and don't allow fear to get in the way of having more security or more closeness with another person. This can prompt tax issues. This can also prompt issues pertaining to debt, loans, or anything in regards to money owed. And touch wood, obviously, but this can also be an indication that there is a major change or ending. Can sometimes be a transition that can be coming also. But not all deaths are literal. This can be figurative. Endings of relationships, endings of some kind of financial situation, changes with jobs, changes with family. The card that I got for you is the Nine of Wands. Okay, so perseverance, resilience, testing of faith, the final push, boundaries, the last stand, close to success, but you're exhausted. Yes, but I think that you're completing something. This may be a time where you're having a breakthrough psychologically or emotionally. This might be where you have a financial breakthrough and you're like, I don't know how much more I can take. And then all of a sudden the dam breaks and everything clears out. Jupiter coming into contact here does tell me there's a lot to gain, even if it's just more emotional strength. But I have a feeling this is going to be about positive changes happening with your finances and also your home, because Jupiter is invisible at the time. Okay. Good luck, Virgo. I've got Libra and Libra rising. What's going on, Libra? Get ready for a solar eclipse in Aries taking place in your natal 7th house, your opposite sign. The 7th house does deal with relationships, others, marital partners, boyfriends, girlfriends, spouses, counselors, therapists, your clients, what you have to offer in terms of services, other people. Okay, Libra. Eclipses here sometimes have nothing to do with you. Sometimes it's just something that's going on with another person and some kind of crisis that's kind of going down for them. So just be on the lookout for that. New moon solar eclipse does seem to suggest that there is a new focus coming into your life in regards to your relationships with others. Eclipses here do affect relationships and partnerships. You may be finding that you're reevaluating existing relationships or starting new partnerships that are more aligned with your own personal values and desires. Single Libra risings, get ready. Between Jupiter in your 7th, a solar eclipse, and the North Node coming through, many of you guys in the months to follow are going to be finding that there are partners of destiny that are showing up in your life. They'll come very quickly, very abruptly. It also can be business partnerships and relationships that you have that can be with clients as well. At the time of the new moon, we're going to see, or the solar eclipse new moon, we're going to see that it's in a square with Pluto in your 5th, which is asking you to open up your heart when it comes to relationships and experience passion and desire in a new way. It is also going to be conjunct Jupiter, which is hidden. So it might be forecasting that there is some new partnership coming in that you might meet through travel, or somebody who kind of slides into your DMs pretty quickly as a result of that eclipse. Equally, new astrologers, new therapists, counselors can come in, and the 7th house is also known as how other people see you. So it's a great time to really pay attention. I see Mars in your 10th house. You're getting more recognition. You're getting more visibility from this eclipse. And being that it's on the cusp of your 8th house, going deeper in intimacy, going deeper in joint resources, and being transparent and vulnerable is a huge lesson with the cusp of the 8th house. With a retrograde there, it also can be talking about some kind of financial change going on with you and other people. The card that I got is the 7 of Swords. Betrayal, deception, getting away with something, theft, dishonesty, sneakiness, cunning, scheming, strategy. Here's the deal. Eclipses in the 7th house can bring definitive or make or break moments with some relationships. If there's something that hasn't been working, it's going to come out. I think that with the Mercury retrograde makes me feel like there can be some sense of like, okay, what is and is not working in relationships? Do I feel like I can trust somebody? Can I not? If not, do I need to take a step back? Solar eclipses are action. So if you're in a relationship that's not working, some of you guys might cut something off and it can feel overwhelming, but it's setting the stage to bring in other relationships. Just be mindful of the people who show up, because they're going to come in very quickly and it's going to take some time to kind of settle into some of these relationships. You got to listen to your gut. Good luck, Libra. All right, so we've got Scorpio and Scorpio rising. What's up, Scorpio? You got a solar eclipse taking place in your 6th house in the sign of Aries. 6th house, daily routine, health, wellness, work. Okay, so a solar eclipse in the 6th house will affect your individual health, work, or daily routines. It's a wonderful time to start new health or fitness routines, reassess your approach to work, productivity, joining gyms, you know, coming up with a schedule, kicking bad habits, really focusing on health and consistency within your schedule is the key. This is also your office space, coworkers, and pets. So eclipses here can impact these people as well. Obviously, it's rather uncomfortable because it's in the 6th house, which feels like work, 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 and also delays or health or things that are just like a nuisance. And it's opposing your ascendant and squaring Pluto. Okay, so something about this eclipse tells me this is also tied into the Mercury retrograde in your relationship zone, that there's some changes going on with health or routines. And as the sun and the moon come together and they start squaring Pluto, which is your chart ruler, there's going to be some challenges in how you're relating and communicating with other people. Health changes, scheduling changes, and miscommunications in relationships, and it can all be creating a lot of pressure in regards to your home life. Just breathe. Know that Pluto is the focal point, which means you have the ability to create change. Some emotional upheavals, changes at home, or crisis with the family can also be coming from this particular eclipse. And it's important to look at partnerships and relationships as a team. So who are your teammates, whether it's your spouse, it's your romantic partner, it's your counselors, your therapists, who has your back when something hits, when crisis hits, right? And learn how to work with these people so that way you can work through some of these challenges, because actually the North Node in Jupiter coming into Taurus is really saying like you need other people to work through some of these things right now. Good luck. Oh, you want a card? You're like, cliffhanger. Cliffhanger. How could I do that to Scorpio? We've got the Emperor, which is interesting because it's squaring Pluto in your 4th house, which can be about a father figure or a parent, some kind of crisis involving a parent, some kind of theme revolving around what you handle, what you take charge and complete, respect, leadership, father figure, structure, discipline, stability, control, and focus. Maybe you're just like, all of my focus is going into creating a routine that works, creating structure, being consistent, and that's your focus, right? It doesn't always have to be about a crisis, but the fact that it's on the cusp of the 7th house means maybe you're really trying to kind of get your career and your work stuff in order, your schedule, so you can be more available for your relationships if your partners need you or if you're making commitments to other people. Good luck. It's a lot of Mars energy, Scorpio rising, solar eclipse in Aries. You've got the Aries card popping up. I think you'll handle it like a boss. We've got Sag and Sag rising. What's up, Sag? You got a solar eclipse in your natal 5th house. I've been talking about this for a while for you, Sagittarius. I've seen so many people being like, I'm having a baby. Yeah, you got an eclipse in your 5th, Jupiter in your 5th. Solar eclipse in the 5th. Obviously, it can affect your creativity, self-expression, your romantic relationships. It's a wonderful time to start new creative projects, explore new forms of self-expression, and working on improving your relationship with children or romantic partners. That's all the 5th house. So extra sweet for you because it does say that you're focusing on what makes your heart sing, what's going to allow you to get in touch with your inner child, your inner artist, and fall in love again. Jupiter's in the mix, which is your chart ruler, so it can be the incoming pregnancy, the incoming good investment, amazing creative project, falling in love with somebody out of the blue. So there's lots of good things coming here. And also just doing a lot of work with the inner child. I can't say that enough, especially since you have Saturn in the 4th. Like, you really need creativity and playtime. It's what's going to help you kind of keep out of a funk. Yes, this eclipse is going to square Pluto, right? And that really is about how you're communicating and kind of getting the mind on board with working through some new creative endeavors. I think the fact that it's on the cusp of the 6th house is also saying that there needs to be a structure, a schedule, a way of doing things, a way of bringing some of these creative projects together, or planning if you're going to be having a kid, or planning if it's going to be about trying to work more independently or launching a new creative business, okay? But probably one of the best for Sag, Leo, and Aries are all going to really benefit from this. But I think because it's so close to your chart ruler, you're going to see how amazing some of these new creative or love, romantic opportunities are going to be in the months to come. Knight of Pentacles, I like that. So this is all about what's reliable, slow and steady, hardworking, committed, grounded, pragmatic, conservative, all the things that Sag isn't, right? Because this is a lot of like fire energy, so it's just like go, 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 go. But this can be a message about finances, resources, investments, right? Knights always are dedicated to their cause. They want to bring you some financial opportunity when it's in the sign of Pentacles. And I think that this is kind of saying like good news is on the way, like that there's something that's growing or something that's going to be coming into fruition. So whether it's a child, it's an investment, it's a creative project, slow and steady wins the race, and really take the time to thoroughly plan it out so that way it can be as big as you want it to be. Good luck. For Capricorn and Capricorn rising, what's going on, guys? How are you doing? You've got a solar eclipse in Aries taking place in your natal 4th house. If you're a Capricorn, sun, moon, rising, 27, 28, 29 degrees, pay attention. You're going to feel this. So this is solar eclipse in your 4th house. A solar eclipse in the 4th will affect your individual home and family life, your private life in general, people you live with, or one of your parents. Definitely a time to reevaluate your living situation, work on improving relationships with family members, although this may be challenging because it does seem to be at a critical degree. Now the sun is involved, so I think it's going to be about how you're dealing with expenses, resources, inheritance, taxes in regards to your home life, okay? So whether it's wills and estates, or it's about figuring out how to change and transform a house, how you're going to afford buying a place, where you're moving, like all of that stuff is going to be coming up. Equally, it can be a time where there's people moving in or out of your home, completing or getting ready to move to a new place can be coming up here as well. It is uncomfortable because it squares Pluto. And like I said earlier in the video, we will see a number of squares between Pluto and this reactivation point. So I think that this might be an ongoing theme really between now and the summertime that you want to watch for. Some of you guys may suddenly have to go back home and be with family, or they may be asking you to come and visit. Just take your time, be mindful. At least a lot of this is going to be happening privately. And it's all about how you're adjusting and responding to some of the change. Equally, Jupiter's in the mix. So it's about good moves, positive expansions within the home and family. And the eclipse is on the cusp of your 5th house. So are you moving in with a romantic partner? Are you enjoying this new space and painting the walls and, you know, decorating? Is it about kids in the home and needing to change home because kids are you know, leaving the nest and you're downsizing, getting your own space, or somebody moving back in and you need to get something bigger? Let's take a look at what the cards have to say for you, my Capricorn. The Hermit card. So we've got introspective, inward, spiritual journey, soul searching, inner guidance, withdrawal, and being alone, which at least the moon is at home in the 4th house, and the sun is like really kind of retreating and focusing on home and family as well. This does make me feel like you're really reflecting on your relationship with your clan, your roots, your family members, and asking yourself, like, how do I feel about this? Do I want to live here? How do I feel about my relationship to someone? It's going to take some time to really think about. Like, there's no need to rush into making decisions. You may feel a little bit like the Lone Ranger with the Hermit card coming up, that there are certain people who are not communicating well with you or who are kind of icing you out. Especially with Saturn being the 3rd house, there can be issues with neighbors or siblings in particular. Take time to just really turn inward and ask yourself, you know, is it time for me to go and build my own home? And also the home within yourself. Like Aries in the 4th house is home is where you are. So it doesn't have to be a person or a place. It can be wherever you decide to kind of build your own little space. Good luck, my Capricorns. For Aquarius and Aquarius rising, we have got a solar eclipse taking place in the sign of Aries in your natal 3rd house. You're going to feel this pretty strongly because it's going to be in a square to Pluto, which is in your sign. So you want to watch for emotional intensity and communication themes. A solar eclipse in the 3rd house can bring changes and new beginnings in communication, learning, relationships with siblings and neighbors. It's a time to start new projects, engage in new forms of learning, connect more deeply to your community, really highlighting gadgets, vehicles, and contracts or communication. You might feel like just emails and text messages are flying, your phone's ringing off the hook, and you're just kind of like, oh my goodness, this is just way too much back and forth communication. You get a little overwhelmed. It is involving the sun, which rules your 7th house. So it's going to be about communication with children, communication with romantic partners or spouses, or communication with clients. And you just feel like you're just spewing out all of this advice, I think, with the sun and Jupiter coming into conjunction. Maybe it's that you're needing to kind of touch base with your astrologer, your therapist, your romantic partner more often, and there needs to be more kind of consistent lines of communication. The square to Pluto, though, does tell me that it's about how you're adjusting to communication changes, moving, or changes within the home and family. Movement is the 3rd, home is the 4th, so something's changing within how you communicate with your family, or maybe you're thinking about making changes within your physical home space. For the most part, this is rather intense, but remember, you have the ability to create change because Pluto is the focal point of this particular square. So really focus on not resisting change. Be careful not to communicate too intensely or to be too forceful about things, because that can definitely come up at the time of this eclipse. The card that I got for you is the 7 of Pentacles. Long-term investments, patience, perseverance, hard work, success, waiting, and planning ahead for profit. So I feel like this might be about you guys going, okay, I'm getting ready to make a move, or I'm getting ready to make a purchase, or I'm getting ready to get a new gadget, and knowing that you're going to do it, but something is kind of slowing down, or you're just thinking about it before you make any moves. Literally, this can be about planting a garden and what you're putting into the investments within your land, or what you're investing into your home or your physical space, which I think is a theme with the retrograde that's getting ready to start in the 4th house, but really putting in a lot of hard work. So you might be working hard, getting documents ready, getting agreements signed, planning on moving, you're having to communicate more with other people, and it's mentally draining, but it's necessary to kind of get the point across right now, and your hard work is going to pay off. Good luck. And for Pisces and Pisces rising, you're going to have a solar eclipse taking place, in the sign of Aries. So this is a little late, but it'll be in Aries. And that's going to be in your 2nd house of money and resources, finances, and income. Interesting stuff. So for the most part, there can be really dramatic things happening with your finances, opportunities to get in, make money, receive larger payouts, focus on financial abundance, financial growth, okay? Having this solar eclipse in the 2nd house can affect your finances, but also is putting a real focus on a sense of self-worth. So it's time to reevaluate your financial goals, your priorities, and work on developing a healthier sense of self-esteem. Now, the sun has to do with the 6th house, so I feel like there can be like delays that are coming in with finances. There can be a sense of needing support with resources. Maybe you're having to hire somebody to help you do your taxes or set up your own personal investments or anything like that. It is an indication that there is wealth coming in, especially because Jupiter, your chart ruler, is going to reactivate this 29 degrees. So will the North Node. So I see lots of growth that's coming in for your resources, especially from May all the way through August. but you're working hard for the money. You're also learning not to tie your self-esteem to numbers in a bank account. That's really, really important. And with the sun being connected to the 6th house, this is also realizing that you have to invest in your health. You have to make the investments into your happiness, and also anything in regards to your office space or your workspace and organization. That might be coming up here as well. So bookshelves and organizing things and labels and stuff like that may be coming up for you here as well. But yeah, great time to do some intentions for money and finances. That's what I would recommend doing, Pisces. And you have yet another opportunity to really set the stage for investing in yourself. The card that I get is Judgment. Ooh. So Judgment, final decisions, absolute wake-up call, inner calling, life purpose, evaluation, awakening. So I think that just being in your 2nd house, it's going to be like a wake-up call in regards to resources. How much you're worth, how much you could make, what you could bring in. The North Node's going to move through your 2nd house these next few years. So that's going to bring up the theme of you having to be a provider, right? South Node eclipses will go through your 8th. So you may not have a spouse that's working as much. You may lose some kind of supplemental income, or it might be harder to access credit or debt related things, stuff in regards to loans. You may not have as much support. So it's really about your money and your resources and you're wanting to grow. So with Judgment coming up, it's saying like whatever's happening is an eye-opening moment where you realize like, wow, it's on me. Like I can make this much, or I'm spending this much. So really try to take a look at what's going on with your finances and make changes however you need to. All right, guys, that's it for me. This is going to be a wild one. I am going to probably come back and maybe even touch on just what has happened since this eclipse, because I know that there is going to be some rather wild things that are going to be taking place in the world. What am I doing? I'm trying to find the next eclipse. There it is. Okay. There's going to be some wild things taking place because of this eclipse. So I'll come back. We'll touch on this throughout the weeks ahead. Keep in mind, about a week or so before, a week or so after, really until we get to the next eclipse, which will be the lunar eclipse in Scorpio. This is going to be in effect. Let me know your comments below. Where is it taking place in your chart? Is it your birthday? Do you have anything at 29 degrees of Aries? What are your thoughts on some of my world predictions? And what are you hoping is going to be manifesting for you? Give me your thumbs up, your comments, your likes, your shares. I really appreciate it. You guys are helping the channel grow. You also make it possible because of your interaction for me to be able to do this more full time. So if you like my videos, if you like the time, the dedication, and the work that I put into them, your support by donating and also joining my memberships makes it possible for me to create even more content. I can't wait to follow up on this, so we'll see what takes place. Wishing all of you guys a very happy solar eclipse in Aries, and I will see all of you guys on the other side. Take care.